Roots into Law with Stefanie Smith. Supported by Tiger Law, a new breed of law firm for you and your business.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest instalment of my Roots into Law series. Today I am joined by Emily Howard, who is one of Tiger's very own. So welcome, Emily.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining.
Anytime.
So we will go straight into the questions because that's why people are here and why they, have an interest in the alternative routes into law. I will let you tell everybody what it is and what you're doing. So can you first of all explain what your role is at Tiger Law?
Yeah, so I'm the admin and accounts manager. So I manage all the admin bits and bobs that come in. So make sure that all the files are open properly, check every bit that come in as well. So any questions that any clients might have, that usually comes through myself. I have obviously got a little PA that does things, so I check up on her, make sure that all her work's okay as well. Account-wise, it's all invoicing, so making sure we have money and making sure that all the invoices that we send out to the clients are up to date, they're all fine and dandy, and yeah, just the basics of admin and accounting really, with a little extra. I help Vanessa out quite a lot with some of her life stuff, shall we say. Really.
Fabulous. And how long have you been with Tiger now?
I started in February, so not quite a year.
Yeah, coming up. Okay, that's lovely. And for anybody that doesn't know, you have actually started training since you've been here, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So could you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah, so I'm doing the business administrator with the legal kind of added in through day one training. So I started that in April, and there's quite a few modules. I believe it's 15 months. And so you do all the admin side of the apprenticeship, so all your pre-work, your assignments, and then they add in the law side of it. So I've recently submitted a multiple choice questionnaire that's to do with law. So you do modules through that. So I'm waiting to hear back for that. That was just a draft for now. And then we get put forward to the actual exam, which hopefully I think will be in October. So there's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it is quite informative. Some bits you do on your day-to-day basis, such as emails and answering phone calls, but it's the element of like actively listening to clients. You work in an office, so you've got to be aware of what the client's actually saying on the phone with someone else being on the phone, and it's learning how to do it properly and professionally. So yeah, it's very interesting, to be honest. There's a lot of elements to it and you just learn more and more through it. So I'm only module 5 at the moment. So I'm learning all about doing meetings and getting things booked. So yeah, so I've got a meeting soon. So I will be sending off my new assignment and then we can move on from there.
That's really interesting. And this is your first time working in a law office, isn't it? Am I correct? Yeah. So what did you do before?
I worked as a admin for Brakes Brothers, so the lorries. So I did the maintenance admin. So I dealt with all the lorries servicing, their MOTs. They had any breakdowns, I'd have to call out all the breakdowns. I did the purchase ledger side of it as well. So when we had to get a new tyre in, for example, I had to raise the invoices through purchase ledger, and we had to do a lot of audits. So it's very similar in the sense of there's a lot of processes in place, such as a law firm. You have to work to a tight schedule because it's a HGV. If anything, accidents happen, it's quite surreal. So moving the skills over for being very analytical and making sure that you're aware of everything that's going around and you're being compliant is a skill that you need to have here in a law firm as well. Okay. So I think that's benefited me from my previous job as well. It's a completely different lorries and law.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, because on the face of it, you wouldn't have thought that there would be any kind of, or very few things that join the two. But as you say, obviously regulated, compliant environments, they're still the same. They just are a different product, I guess.
Different spectrum as such.
Okay.
So, yeah, very different lorries and laws. You get a bit of grease on your hand. Certainly don't do that here.
And so how did the study in law come about? Like, did you know about the apprenticeship route before you came to Tiger, or did that happen kind of during your time here?
It happened during my time here. So I came over in February, complete change of scene from what I was doing. And it was Vanessa that actually suggested, because I didn't have any law background, that this apprenticeship route would probably benefit me in understanding my actual job in the law firm, but also what goes around, like different sectors. When everyone, sometimes like Leonie sits in here and she mentions things, I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. But this is opening up more of a knowledge. So I can actually have a conversation with Leonie now and understand what she's saying. But it was something that was brought on probably a month into joining Tiger.
That's fabulous. And it's lovely that, you know, you've got that support behind you as well, because
100%.
Whilst there is nothing better really in terms of experience, you know, you're almost, whilst you would have gained that experience anyway, I think that it's almost kind of being fast forwarded, you know, by exposing you to things that perhaps, you know, you may have only come into contact with maybe in a year, or, you know, this is just really pushing you forward into your time, you know, working in law. So. And so
Tiger's fast paced, so it's good to know
of course,
going on, rather than being behind. Tiger's moving forward so much. You don't want to be behind. I wouldn't have wanted to be stuck as such.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously you mentioned about you have 15 modules. Is that what you said? Or did you say 15 months?
It's 15 months. I don't actually in my head how many modules there are.
Okay.
But there's a good few. It's probably about a module a month. So around 15.
So fabulous. And so how do you manage keeping on top of work and studies? Because this is something that people ask me all the time. And obviously I have my way of dealing with it, but it's always really good to hear other people's, you know, coping strategies, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, where I've got the support from Amy, it can be quite helpful in the sense of, you know, you do get, it works out as 1 full day a week to study. So it might be a case if I break that up, so I might take half a morning out, crack on with some of the pre-work or do some of the assignment. And to be honest, I do a little bit outside. Well, you have to do some outside of work. So I tend to do a lot of my pre-work outside of work, and then all my actual assignments in work, because there's people around me that I can ask for help with. But it is a day that you have out a week. So whether you break that up over the period of the week is completely up to you. I prefer that because then I don't get behind on my actual job work, but I've also got enough time to still do my apprenticeship work. But you make it work.
Okay. And that 1 day a week, is that part of the agreement between you and then taking on the apprenticeship? Is that standard for everybody? Standard across the board. So as an employer, obviously there has to be that agreement with them too, that they're committing you to those hours, and you're committing yourself. Okay, that's really good. That's really good, because like you say, you have to have that sometimes you have to go outside of your normal work hours, but to know that agreement is there between you, the employer, and the learning provider, you know, just kind of makes it a bit more comfortable for everybody, I guess, doesn't it?
It's just more support. If you put in what you want to get out of it, is kind of my way of it. If you want to take some home with you to maybe get ahead of yourself, there's no harm. It's only might be an hour of your evening, and then you do the rest at work. That's great. That's really good. And again, that just reinforces the support of your employer as well, doesn't it, if they're committed. So and so did you know about the legal apprentice route before you joined Tiger? Had you ever heard of this? Because I know apprenticeships, from my own experience, they kind of faded out. They were quite popular, you know, kind of when I was growing up.
quite a long time ago now. But then they seem to fade away, but actually they seem to be making a comeback. So is it something you'd ever heard of?
It was something I heard of when I left school, which was probably nearly 10 years ago now. And it was kind of, you either left school and did an apprenticeship, or you left school and you got a full-time job. So I think, like what you said, they're coming back now. You see a lot of it kind of everywhere. I always had the impression of they're for younger people. Whereas I'm 26 and I'm doing an apprenticeship, and that's absolutely fine, because I'm still learning but working all in the same time. So I think it's a great opportunity to be given, and I do encourage other people to jump on it. Why wouldn't you? You're getting paid to do an apprenticeship and you're working and learning at the same time.
Yeah, no,
it's a college thing.
I agree entirely, actually. And I know when I recorded the episode with Kim Powell, I said exactly the same thing, is that you often associate apprenticeships with school leavers, but that's completely not the case. Right. And I think to have an opportunity, I mean, I never had an opportunity or I never had the support from an employer for my training. It's something I've always had to do myself. It is a route I could have gone down at that time too, but I didn't know anything about it, then. So I think it's wonderful. And I think that it's really important that we send the message out and let people know, because there is no bar to people joining.
No, God, no.
The legal industry. So I think, it's, and I'm keen on, letting people know about these kinds of things. So that's fabulous. I mean, in terms of specific skills, you touched a little bit on this earlier when you were talking about transferable skills. Is there anything in particular that you think might benefit a legal apprentice if somebody's considering that route into law?
Organisation. Be able to organise everything. You need to know what's going on from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you leave. I do have that skill, I believe. However, I am currently learning how to prioritize my work tasks. So for me, there's a lot of emails I get day to day, whether it's like basic admin stuff that to a fee earner might be really, really important, but I might have an outstanding invoice that I'm getting chased by. So for me, it's kind of learning what one do you put first? Do you tell someone, just give me 10 minutes and I'll be with you, and then you deal with that? Or do you deal with the quick job because you know it's quick and easy, and then later go back? So that's the skill that I'm currently learning in. But organisation, 100%. You need to be organised, even when doing the apprenticeship, because you need to organise when you're going to be able to find the time to do your apprenticeship and do your work.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And so just going back to what you were saying then about, the skill you're currently learning.
Yeah.
Can you kind of be specific about the way that you have learned to deal with that? Because I know, for example, I know what I would do with that. But if you think about your time when you started as an apprentice, how you might have approached that in comparison to how you might deal with that now, if you had those two conflicting things, what have you learned?
So I write everything on Post-it notes. So when there's a new thing that comes in, I'll write it down. And then once I've done it, I'll tick it off. But I will sit there and look at the Post-it note and go, right, that needs doing now. That can probably wait an extra 5 minutes. And I've also found my voice. So if someone comes, like a fee earner comes to me and says, can you just quickly do this? That might be quick for them, but that's going to take me potentially 15 minutes. So I found my voice and go, yeah, I'll get that done. Just give me 5 minutes. I'm just finishing this, and then I'll get that done for you.
Yeah, that's great. And again, that's one of those transferable skills that it's all about managing expectations, basically. And you have it not only with your colleagues, but also with your clients as well. So, and no different to if clients are contacting you directly, we have to be able to manage their expectations. There's nothing worse than promising them something you can't deliver. But not only for the experience for the client, but also for you as a person, because you are only one person, there is only so much that you can do at once. So it does take confidence, I think, and also time to learn that skill, but it is completely transferable across the board then. And, you have to almost be honest with people. And I think, certainly when it's happened to me, often the first question I'll ask is, well, when do you need that by? what's the deadline? If you give me a deadline, I can then prioritize that with everything else that I need to do. So I think that's a really good example. And in the time that you've been here, you're obviously making really good progression. That's fabulous.
Thanks. Yeah.
And so in terms of your kind of typical day, can you give me kind of an idea of the types of things, just like from an overview, really, of what you do?
Yeah, so like this morning I came in, went through my emails. So I kind of sift through them and find out what's important, what can wait, what can be done like slightly later. I've been dealing with invoicing. So making sure that all invoices that are due today, they've got a friendly reminder that their invoice is due payment today. Anyone that's a little bit late, they've also had an email saying, please, can you pay your invoice? And so we do I do invoicing. I try and get that done in the morning as a priority. And then any invoices that are due payment from our side, they're all paid. So this morning I've done opened a file for Phil. So that's a new client folder. So I've opened that. I've helped Rebecca, so I supported Rebecca with ringing Santander to confirm bank detail. It's such a variety of different things you do on a day. It could be simple things from shredding, from archived folders, sending out posts. There's a lot that goes on. So one day is never the same, but that's good because you come in and you're not just going to be sitting behind a computer screen just typing.
Yeah.
There's so much that
happens. And to me that's really interesting because again it is a bit like dealing with clients. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to call, who's going to contact, and obviously you do have those everyday tasks, but then and I think that's probably what makes it so interesting is that you never quite know what's going to happen. So if you had to be specific then about what would you say the favourite part of your job is, if you had to choose? If you can choose, of course.
Oh, gosh. I actually thoroughly enjoy all of my job. I don't think there's one thing that I can sit here and go, I don't enjoy doing that. Clients, there's some lovely clients that we have, and you can sit here and have a good old chin wag with them. Everyone that works at Tiger's lovely. So if you need a 5 minute just to get some headspace, there's always someone that you can just go, can I just have a quick chat with? The work, I'm always busy and I like being busy. I like admin. I thoroughly enjoy admin work. So I'm very content probably in my job because
that's really good.
Yeah, there's nothing here that I can sit here and say, no, I don't enjoy doing that.
That's really nice. That's really good.
Yeah.
And so how would you like to see your career develop over the next 12 months? What have you got in mind?
So I would like to be the practice manager of Tiger. So that's what I'm working towards at the moment. So my next module in my apprenticeship is project management, which I think will be great. And just kind of go through that. I mean, another thing that I want to kind of get better at, shall I say, is managing as a whole. And obviously Amy works with me, so understanding how to manage someone is something that I will be working towards as well, which I will be learning through my apprenticeship, which is great. It covers everything. So that's kind of my role at the moment, and what I'm looking to do.
Yeah. So it sounds as though the training then is just so broad. Obviously, you've got the legal element, which is beneficial once you're working in the law office, but actually the skills you're learning, and especially for someone of your age, they're just, I think by the end of it, it's going to be an excellent qualification to have, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. There's so much, because it's not, you learn everything about business from start to finish, but you're also learning, it's like the basic side of law, but it's the law stuff that you need to know. It's the foundations of a law firm. So you're learning basics on how to use an Excel spreadsheet to the court structures.
Yeah.
So there is a lot that goes into it, but I've only done a little bit of it, and there's so much more left to go.
And then, of course, who knows what you might decide to do after you've done the
Exactly.
apprenticeship, because obviously, you know, you might decide that you want to go on and do something else. So, yeah, that would be wonderful.
Definitely opens up the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the final piece of advice that you would give to people considering the legal apprenticeship route?
Don't hesitate. If you want to get your foot in the door with a law firm, you've got no experience, go down the apprenticeship route, because you learn so much information, and like what we've discussed, it opens up other doors that down the line, once you've qualified, you don't just have to do the admin, you could become a paralegal and do another apprenticeship in that.
Yeah, and I think by the sounds of it, as I said earlier, you know, it sounds as though you're getting the experience of potentially 3 or 4 years in a job,
Yeah,
all kind of in this one, you know, these 15 months, because you're being, you know, not forced, that's probably the wrong word, but, you know, part of the structure is that you're doing all these different tasks and learning these new skills.
Yeah.
So it's fast forward in your career, basically, isn't it?
because you're learning through the apprenticeship, but you're also learning through doing your day-to-day work. So it's the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, that's great. It's really interesting. And you know, as I said, I will try and do all I can to highlight this route into law, because I think that it's so there's so many levels to it and layers, and it's, you know, really diverse. And then, of course, if you want to go on to as you said, become a paralegal, then you could become, you know, a legal executive if you wanted as well. You've got all of those options. So that's
So
really,
and it's not just college bound. I don't go to college. It's all done through Zooms. So it's easier for me. I don't have to worry about going into college for a day. You know, it does make it a lot easier to study.
yeah,
Doing it than doing it through after school as such.
And do you have a tutor? Do you have like one person that you are in connection with?
Yeah, so you have my lady's called Louise, so she's my direct tutor. Amy has the same, and then every 6 weeks you then have a meeting as a group. So it'll be another tutor from someone else is. They kind of have like a group catch up about what your assignment's going to be. So they go through all the pre-work that you've done for that module, and then they kind of give you the advice and information to do your assignment, and then you have another catch up with Louise. But Rebecca is our supervisor through the apprenticeship, so she also gets very involved in the sense of we have team meetings. It'll be like myself, Louise, and Rebecca. So Rebecca also gets a say in what work I've been doing, how you've been coping on the job as well. So then Louise gets an understanding of your work and your actual work.
That's really good, isn't it? Because I would imagine that assists as well with perhaps if you're trying to meet an objective and it's something that you don't think you may have done. And obviously Bex might be able to go, well, actually, what about that time when, you know, so it's probably really helpful to have that other person, you know, involved.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I ask Vanessa questions often still as well. Anyone really, I've asked Naomi questions, but there's no limit, really. You can do as much or as little, if you wanted, in the whole route of the apprenticeships into law.
That's really interesting. Thank you. And, you know, I can't wait to see kind of where this ends up for you. It's really interesting. You know, I'm so passionate about these opportunities that are given to people and the opportunities that people take and the passion that they put into them and the hard work, you know, as we were saying earlier, it doesn't come easy. So, you know, it'll be really interesting to see your journey and who knows where it might go.
I know, it's exciting. It's great.
Yeah, that's lovely. And thank you for sharing your story with us today as well. I'm sure many people will find it incredibly interesting.
I hope so. Anytime.
Lovely. Thank you.
Roots into Law with Stefanie Smith. Supported by Tiger Law, a new breed of law firm for you and your business.